Nintendo, pretty much ever since they started making games, have always been different from their competitors. And I don't just mean in the hardware aspect, I mean in the "you want our money or not? Make up your mind" aspect. This could just mean that being an older company means that you're going to be behind the times and blinded to what everyone else is doing. However, I don't exactly think that that's the case. I think they're just really, really stubborn. That same stubbornness has led to many great consoles and games being made by them, like the Wii, obviously. Incredible gimmick with the motion controls. Incredible is like a strong word, let me change that. A good enough gimmick with the motion controls. In that exact same generation, though, the PS3 and Xbox 360 are HD, and the Wii isn't, which makes Nintendo a little bit behind the times in the technical aspect, but incredible in the software aspect and the fun aspect. And we still see that today with this generation, where the Switch is a little bit behind in the generation. The PS5 and Xbox Series, they're at 4K, and the Switch can barely even run at a constant 60. However, being able to take high quality console games on the go is such a novelty that I understand that the Switch isn't like a juggernaut of power like its competitors. Which obviously leads everyone to believe that this next console is going to be way more powerful than the Switch we have now, and we'll be able to play games in this generation that are not on the Switch, and games that are probably more visually appealing as well. This did get me thinking though, what if this is the year that Nintendo finally comes out of their shell, get off their high horse, and stop being different? Like, there are a lot of things that Nintendo can stop being very picky about. For example, voice acting. Think about it. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are the very first fully voiced Zelda games. And even recently with Mario Wonder, the talking flower, he's fully voiced. And in many languages too. Not to mention the Mario cast mostly has new voices as well. Now there are some exceptions that are out of studio, like Fire Emblem, Bayonetta, Xenoblade. Weirdly enough, WarioWare is also starting to go down this road as well, which, good for him, I guess. And I guess Star Fox to a point. Star Fox is not really recent now because we haven't got a game in like years, but just thought I'd throw that out there. Oh, and Kid Icarus Uprising is another example of that, which also hasn't had a new game, but fully voiced, and very well at that. It's just weird to me that Nintendo of all companies would rather go the route of having weird languages that are not real over actual languages that are real. I feel like the biggest insult for this lack of voice acting in the games has to be Pokemon. Pokemon is a money printing machine. You think they would actually give a budget for voice actors, but they just don't do that. Instead, they rush their games out. I mean, every aspect of Pokemon feels like it's stuck and not trying to improve all that much. Obviously, the games themselves could use a little work, but the in-game cutscenes for a lot of these games just scream they want voice acting, but there just isn't, and they feel bland and it's just, you know what I mean? I don't want to hold my breath on that actually happening, but if it does, it will be a surprise for sure, because I just don't really have that much faith in the Pokemon Company, to be honest. I'm really sorry. Next up, there is letting us listen to their music. Now, I don't think I have to tell you about the big takedown massacre of insert year here. There are some Nintendo published games that let you listen to their music. Like, Pokemon has had it on iTunes. I think it still does, actually.
It doesn't.
A lot of the Bayonetta soundtrack is on digital as well,
because it's Sega owned.
The only example of EPD dipping their toes into releasing their music digitally is with Mario Odyssey, but that's not the entire soundtrack. That's only like 15 out of almost 100. Now, they have been releasing some of their music on YouTube here and there, but it's not the same. Even if it was the same, that's not all of it. There's still way more that we would love for you to release.
But for some reason, every other game just doesn't let you listen to the music. Unless it's a physical disc or record. Not digital though, you gotta pay for that. Which makes it a little bit more obvious as to why they took down some of the music. But a lot of these games are also old, and the soundtrack can't be heard anywhere else. And you're getting rid of it. I really love Nintendo music. It makes up like 90% of my playlist, along with The Weeknd. How are you gonna have one of the greatest music teams I've ever heard for video games and not let us listen to the music that they made, that you are putting in there for us to listen in the game only? So maybe that's why I'm extremely serious about this, because I still really want to listen to your music and not have to open up the game just to listen to your music. It's convenient for me and everyone else. I don't know, it's just not really a smart business decision. I mean, if it's really for the money, then I'll hand it over if I get to listen to it digitally. I don't need a disc. Again, I'm not gonna hold my breath on that because, Nintendo, very unpredictable company, but the only thing that they are predictable from is not being smart, so I don't think that's actually gonna happen. But you know what I think can happen at some point? Putting their characters in cross-play games. Now, I honestly don't understand why they are so against this, considering Xbox and Nintendo are really buddy-buddy, and they let the show, which is a PlayStation Studios developed game, onto their system. I guess Nintendo just really likes getting their back scratched and not scratching their back in return. Like take Minecraft, for example. They have a whole Mario mashup pack, and you can only play it on the Switch version. That makes sense, but you can't see the Mario skins or the texture pack in other versions of that game. Just the Switch. And Minecraft is not even really that good on Switch, I'm gonna be honest. It's crashed on me like many times. And Rocket League also had Mario cosmetics, and that was the same deal. It could only be seen on the Switch version and no other version. What we really expect them to do is because them and Epic Games are also really buddy-buddy, and they tweet a lot of Fortnite and Fall Guys related stuff on their Twitter. It's like you'd really expect Nintendo to do this, considering that Epic Games, which is one of the biggest cross-play companies, I guess, and they just don't want to follow Xbox and PlayStation doing that stuff. There have been many articles about Nintendo shutting down offers to put Samus in Fortnite. And it would make the most sense for her to be in Fortnite, considering she's the only Nintendo character that uses weaponry. Plus, just imagine a Mythic with Samus's blaster. That would have actually been perfect. Too bad it's never gonna happen because Nintendo f***ing sucks. To be honest though, I'd give up, considering that the Switch version of Fortnite looks like this. I don't think that would be a good look for either of them. I will talk about Fall Guys for like 1 minute exactly, because it's not really worth that much of my time. Fall Guys is the most Nintendo friendly it can get, and they have so many characters to choose from to put in Fall Guys. Which means that Fortnite isn't exactly the problem, but the crossplay is. And you know what, screw it. Just because PlayStation and Xbox also have exclusive skins in Among Us, I'm gonna bring that up too. Among Us literally had the spot on Nintendo Direct, for crying out loud. And you mean to tell me that Nintendo is not gonna put Mario in Among Us? Like, dude, you know how cool that would be? I don't know the exact rule for why they don't do this, but I'm gonna guess that having Nintendo characters on different consoles is like bad for them, maybe bad for the companies that they're working with. I don't know how that would fix anything, but that's just what I'm guessing, and that's why they don't do it. But it really does annoy me a lot. Now, I have some minuscule stuff here that's like not as big of a deal as some people make it out to be, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. Why doesn't the Switch have voice chat? The Wii U struck gold with you talking with someone through the gamepad's microphone, and I mean, it worked. Ditching that idea completely was not a good idea. Doing it through the app just takes so much of your time when you can just have a microphone in the controller or something and it'll work just as well, or better even. It's like one of the biggest downgrades from the Wii to Switch, besides like Virtual Console not being there, is that the online is just kind of bare bones now. Or probably not bare bones, but like worse still. Nintendo is the only one left who hasn't partnered up with Discord to just make things better for their online communication. I promise you, as much as I don't like Discord sometimes, they can help you. On 3DS and Wii U, you can just look up someone's username and add them as a friend that way. And then the Switch went back to using friend codes. Why? Like, was that way too convenient for you? I don't understand. It could just be so that many people can have the same username, and friend codes make it easier to do that. But like, 16 digits? That's more than a phone number! And I hate typing phone numbers! Dedicated servers. Nintendo's been using dedicated servers back in the DS days, where they started using online for their games, and 2 decades later, it still doesn't work. Look, I'm sure it was excusable before you had us pay for it, but now that we're paying for it, you at least, you gotta step up your game, man. And while I'm on the topic of paying for their online, this has nothing to do with them being different from their competition, but like, let me just say it because it makes me really mad. The drip feeding of legacy games on your online is so terrible. We have to wait for like one game to release every 3 months. That's not good. I feel like we're even lucky to have N64 and GBA on the service, but we still have we have to pay extra for those. I feel like out of all of the things on this list, them fixing their online is the most likely, and that's like an extremely low bar. I did say it was not just about the hardware aspect that Nintendo's being different about. We all know that already. However, I think it's about time Nintendo finally steps up their game with the hardware. Nintendo was always about software over hardware. The gimmick of the console, like, yeah, that's a huge selling point, but the games that you use that gimmick for are what really makes it shine, and that's why they were always above that over graphics. And that's great. Without that mindset, we wouldn't have games that are this unique to the industry. Hell, I don't even think we'd have games! Some of their recent releases, though, are visually starting to chug a little bit, and that is not good for you. First-party games should not be struggling to run on your console. You made it! Nintendo consoles are cheap for a reason. They get more money from making it cheaper than the others, and I understand that. That's completely fine. You can still make it cheap while still offering a good enough gameplay experience. One that doesn't run like to be more specific. I feel like if you have to resort to cloud versions of games through the system itself and not through like an app or something, then that's a problem on your end. And you shouldn't be putting that on such a high pedestal. Hey guys, look at how small my dick is. I do hope that this year is the year where Nintendo finally opens their eyes, realizes what everyone else is doing and how they can benefit from doing that. It's February, and with that Nintendo Direct on the horizon, as I'm making this video, hopefully it doesn't get announced, I'm just wondering to myself how Nintendo can make this their best year yet. I love Nintendo. It's been that way since I was a baby, and I only want to see them improve. So when I make fun of them, it's out of love. I want them to change for the better. Obviously, new console. That's great. Better business decisions. That's also great. Will that happen?